Deputy Speaker, this amendment, put forward by the Leader of the Nationals, the member for Maranoa, merely aligns the approvals required for industry activities for both gas extraction and carbon sequestration to the same standards, ensuring that where there is potential of a significant impact on water resources, the injection and permanent storage of carbon dioxide underground will meet the same scientific standards through the approval process as part of the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. That's what we're talking about here. We just heard a rant from the member for Melbourne. He calls to give him a break. Well, I tell you what, Australian farmers won't just give him a break. They'll give him the food on his table 3 times a day, every day. And he should thank farmers. He shouldn't come into this place, as he and his coterie so often do, and malign our farmers. Malign our farmers who are the best in the world. The best in the world. And our farmers who, if they were left at the behest of the Greens, would not even be in existence. Would not even be in existence. And we hear so often from the Greens about the Beetaloo Basin, about our farmers, about the Murray-Darling Basin. I challenge the member for Melbourne, the Greens leader, and his cohorts to actually leave their capital cities, leave the confines of their ivory towers and come into regional Australia and see some real work being done, to see the farmers who, with the sweat of their brows, who with the work of their hands, getting their dirt under their fingernails to produce the food on limited water.
Order. The member for Melbourne.
The member for Melbourne should just be quiet. He just might learn something.
I think that's my job to tell him that, not yours.
Something about our farmers. Something about our farmers. And he talks about the Murray-Darling Basin. I appreciate this is about the amendments brought to the chamber by the member for Maranoa. But our farmers aren't just the ones who are going to be affected by the changes that Senator Sarah Hanson-Young and the Water Minister, who I quite like, brought to this place. I do, and she knows it. I do, and she knows it. And it's mutual. I know it's mutual. And the member for Lyons can laugh all he likes, but I've got a lot of respect for the Water Minister. That said, when Labor and the Greens get together on a motion, on a piece of legislation, it's not just going to affect our farmers, Mr Deputy Speaker. It's going to affect the cafes, the hairdressers, the schools and everyone else in the Murray-Darling Basin. This is sensible environmental policy, brought to you by the National Party, brought to you on behalf of our farmers. And the member for New England is right when he talks about that wonderful underground inland river system, underground rivers called the Artesian Basin, and we have to protect it. We have to look after it. Well, we had a decade. That's more than what I hope you ever get, member for Melbourne. That's more than I hope you ever get in power. But let me tell you, when the leader of the Greens in the ACT wants the Greens to have cabinet spots in the federal parliament, I worry, I shake, I shiver with fear, because you could just imagine Senator Shoebridge in charge of justice. You could just imagine Senator Hanson-Young being in charge of agriculture. I mean, they're enough to make our farmers fear. They're enough to make our communities worry, to keep them awake at night. This legislation, this amendment, will not keep Australians awake at night if it is approved. And I appreciate the Water Minister saying that she would look at it in the future. I hope they do more than just look at it in the future. I hope they vote with us today, because we have to look after our Artesian Basin. We have to make sure that the potable water, is there for not just present needs but for future generations, because once destroyed, we will never get it back. Once destroyed, and that's why these are sensible amendments. That's why the member for Maranoa has put forward these amendments to the legislation, to the amendments coming back from the Senate. And the member for New England is also right when he talks about what the member for Flynn has put forward. The member for Flynn has been working on this for months. He is a passionate Queenslander. He understands better than anyone the benefits of the Artesian Basin and the need to protect it. He comes to this place with experience in that regard. He was a former Queensland Member of Parliament. He understands how important mining is. He understands how important Gladstone Harbour is. He understands how important farming is, because he actually runs a farm, owns a farm, works a farm, more than I can ever say the member for Melbourne ever will.